What's going on, FA Nation? Jon and Impemba here with Matt Selz, giving you another edition of FA Sports Talk. Matt, you and I did this last Wednesday. Gave us a nice preview of the NASCAR road race, something you said you weren't 100% sure exactly how it would play out. So I have to ask you, how was this past weekend of NASCAR?
The Cup race was unpredictably boring, if that makes sense. So we watched the ARCA race on Friday night, and that was just all over the place. Wrecks everywhere. Had no idea what was going on. Then we watched the Xfinity race on Saturday. That was crazy. Then there was a lightning delay, and then they raced on rain tires for the second week in a row, and then people still couldn't, cars were sliding all through the grass. So we all backed off a little bit on the Cup race, figured it was going to be a little crazy, and then it turns out that there was I don't even remember if there was a single caution for an actual incident. I think there was a caution for a lightning delay again, and then there was 2 stage cautions. So I don't think there was even a caution for... Oh, actually there was. Kyle Busch spun out at the end of the race in which nobody really knew he was still on the track because he had an issue beforehand. So it was. I mean, the guy that I kind of expected to win won in Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was...
Truex Jr. end up doing? Because I know you were saying that this could have been a race where he would have done well. I say every time I play him, he does horrible. Would this been a week to play or not?
Yes, he actually did pretty well. He didn't finish quite as high as I had expected, but there was a self-inflicted wound there because he got caught speeding off of pit road.
That's usually what happens whenever I play him. Yeah.
So that was kind of a self-inflicted injury there. But yeah, overall it was a pretty fun race. A lot of passing happened. Some pretty interesting moves were made for drivers moving up the playoff standings. But overall, we're down to 3 races now before the playoffs start. So it's serious crunch time for some guys.
And what do we have coming up this week for NASCAR?
We've got 5 races in 3 days. So Dan Malin and I are going to be in a bunker for most of the weekend.
Nice.
We've got a truck race on Friday at Dover. We've got an Xfinity race on Saturday at Dover, Cup race at Dover on Saturday, and then Xfinity and Cup again on Sunday. So total of 5 races in 3 days. We're covering all of them with playbooks for Xfinity and truck from Dan Malin. We got a podcast that'll be out that'll talk about the weekend, mostly focused on Cup. Rankings, projections, 2 playbooks from myself, lineup generator for the Cup. Yeah, that's all going to be out this weekend. And then I'm going to take a very long nap on Monday.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like we have a lot of content here. If we had to give an early preview on maybe a winner, who do you think we got this week?
So it's really interesting, actually, because Kyle Busch is a guy that usually they run Dover twice a year. They run it in the spring, usually about May, and then they run it usually in the playoffs, some point about September or October. The first race that's run at Dover in the last 6 years, Kyle Busch hasn't finished better than 26th in that race. He usually has some pit issue or a car crash or a part breaks or something just goes horribly wrong for Kyle Busch in the May race. However, in the fall race in the playoffs, he hasn't finished outside the top 5 in any of the last 6 years, including 3 wins.
That's pretty good.
So it kind of depends. I don't know how we're going to break this weekend down. Do you take Saturday's race as the May race and then Sundays as the fall race? I don't know. He's starting 22nd for Saturday's race, which is going to make him pretty popular.
It's a lot of place differential points right there.
Yeah, it's going to make him pretty popular. I myself will probably go a little lighter on him on Saturday and then go heavier on him on Sunday.
So you think it's just simply him getting familiar with the track? Not that he's not familiar with the track already, but
right.
That's the difference.
I guess I really don't, and he can't even explain it either. It's just a weird, split because it's not like he has a bad showing. He'll be racing the last time he was leading and then a part broke on his car and then he finished dead last because
got to keep him from walking under any ladders or something.
Yeah, I don't know. So I probably won't play him that heavily on Saturday because in these doubleheader weekends he's typically done better on the Sunday race because he treats the Saturday race like a practice session that he doesn't get otherwise. So we'll see how it goes, but it's certainly an intriguing weekend here at the Monster Mile, as it's known.
Interesting. Well, yeah, that'll be great to look out. Matt, if they wanted to get your NASCAR package for those watching you haven't right now, what kind of deal do we have going on for it?
I believe it's $20 total for everything we just said, plus that covers you the rest of the season. And in case you're wondering how long the NASCAR season goes, it doesn't end until the second weekend in November. So we've still got like 3.5, almost 4 months left of the NASCAR season.
A lot of time left.
Yeah. So, $20 gets you everything each week. So we've got track breakdown that comes out usually on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on the schedule for the race. DFS rankings for DraftKings, FanDuel, GPP, Cash. We've got projections for Cup each week that are updated throughout the week based on news breaking and how the track is changing and, if a driver swaps out or whatever. We got playbooks for Truck Series races, for Xfinity races, and for Cup races. We've got example lineups that come out for Truck and Xfinity and Cup races. And you get the podcast from Dan and I, which we usually do a full field breakdown in those. And there's also chat. Dan and I are always in NASCAR chat answering basically any question you could throw at us. It's well worth the $20 in my opinion. We basically hit that every week.
It's $20, Matt, but we also have a promo running right now where you get 20% off using promo code DOMINATE, so you can actually get the 1997 price down to about $16. Save $3. Go to the dollar menu and get a meal. With the extra money that you're saving. I got a great deal going on with all that NASCAR stuff, and plus, again, you're the two-time FSWA NASCAR Writer of the Year back-to-back, two-time double champ right there. So a lot of great.
I am, and we've had some folks bag some tournaments this year, so we've been pretty good every week.
Oh yeah, but the lineup generator has been amazing. So
yes. Oh, and I forgot we have a brand new lineup generator that's pretty awesome, and it incorporates all of our plays for the week automatically for you, so you can just build lineups from the folks we already like. Usually a pretty good combination there.
One click of a button, 150 lineups. The thing is absolutely amazing. Been using it all season for baseball, basketball, and NASCAR. Looking forward to football because I think that lineup generator is going to get a lot of use over the week. That's for damn sure. So,
yes, it will.
Yeah. So, Matt, let's wrap up the NASCAR and let's go over to baseball. Obviously, the hot topic over the last couple of days has been sort of like unwritten rules, etiquette, yada, 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 following the Fernando Tatis 3-0 grand slam up 7 runs situation there where he basically had to come out with an apology for no apparent reason. But, I mean, this has been stemming now. It seems like every year there's sort of an instance of, like, codes of the game. We had the Tim Anderson bat flip circumstance last year, and then Soto, even the same night as Tatis, staring down at the home run there. So, I mean, why don't we get into this? Let me know. Do you believe there are such things as unwritten rules to the game, or is these just people just being babies?
I think it's people being babies. I used to play baseball, played it all the way up through high school. Why would you, and as Johnny Bench, the Hall of Fame, like, greatest catcher of all time, tweeted out, if he takes a 3-0 pitch, now it's 3-1. Now the pitcher sets you up with a great 3-1 pitch that gets you into a 3-2 count. And then you get garbage to hit in a 3-2 count that induces a ground ball double play. And then you're going, well, gee, why didn't he swing at the meatball that was thrown 3-0? The guy's going to serve up an 85-mile-an-hour belt-high dead middle changeup. I'm swinging.
Right.
I'm paid to swing the bat. That's what you're paying me to do. So I don't care that they're up 7. And as somebody else pointed out, I think it was Don LaGreca, the WFAN radio guy, pointed out, it's almost more embarrassing to put the brakes on because it's sending your opponent the message that's like, we're so good, we don't even have to try and beat you. So that's just even more of an embarrassment. Right. So I have zero problem with Tatis hitting a 3-0 pitch. That's what you're supposed. If nobody ever hit a 3-0 pitch,
I can't tell you how many times I've sat on my couch watching a Red Sox game, counts 3-0, and like JD has basically not even in the box and just lets like the fastball go down. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we all know the fastball is coming. I understand that the pitcher's been a little bit wild, so you don't swing at a bad pitch. But if he's going to groove a fastball and you're one of the elite hitters in baseball, put that in the stands. Tatis did what he's supposed to do. And I like Trevor Bauer's tweet, basically encouraging it, being like, hey, keep on swinging, keep on playing the way you're playing, keep on hitting grand slams. It's not Tatis' fault that the pitcher went to 3-0 and grooved the pitch. That pitcher should have been pitching better. So
exactly.
I'm in full agreement.
Your own Eduardo Rodriguez tweeted out, he's like, as a as a guy who
led baseball in 3-0 count since he's been in the majors. So
yeah, he's like, as a guy who knows the 3-0 count very well, I have no problem with a hitter swinging at a 3-0 pitch down the middle. If I put it there, you should swing. So yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I have a bigger problem, and as I tweeted out that night, I said this is why the Padres have lost for so long, because their managers don't have a winning mentality. They're soft and don't want to, offend anybody. And it was also pointed out, I think Robert Flores on MLB Network pointed out that Tingler is the Padres manager, worked for the Rangers for like the last 8 years, including last year. Chris Woodward, he worked with Chris Woodward, the Rangers manager. He was like under him last year. AJ Preller, who is the GM of the Padres, who also, by the way, said something to Tatis after he got done crossing home plate, was the Rangers like assistant GM before he became the Padres GM. So I think it's more relationships and not wanting to offend your former employer than I have a bigger problem with Gabalt or whatever his name is throwing behind Manny Machado the very next pitch.
And that was on orders too. That was basically on orders to throw at him. It's not only that. It's, even in the Padres dugout, like you said, I showed you the video of Eric Hosmer basically giving, Tatis sort of, comeuppance, being like, and you saw Tatis' face basically making it seem like, he was getting yelled at for what just happened there. And like, I think it's sort of been a little bit misconstrued. It's not that he wasn't supposed to swing at the 3-0 count. It's more so that the game was a blowout and people were like, well, that's just poor sportsmanship rather. These games, you should be going up there and just getting outs. I don't agree with that. Play the game through. Right. We've seen plenty of teams come down from more than 7 runs to win the baseball game. So
the Mets gave up a 6-run lead in the 9th inning last year in a game that wound up, I think, keeping them out of the playoffs ultimately.
I think that happens every year for the Mets.
But this was in September. They had a 6-run lead on the Nationals, and the Nationals just kept plugging away, and they didn't give up and whatever. And then they came back and won that game that involved, I think, a Kurt Suzuki walk-off. But the best part about Tatis was it. Last night, yesterday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, he stole third base with the Padres up by 6 in the 4th inning. Right. And I'm like, with the same pitcher on the mound, by the way, Gabalt was on the mound again, and he stole third base. So my biggest issue here, though, is coming from MLB, because they have that advertising campaign, Let the Kids Play, trying to get more excitement in the baseball. And now you're shunning a kid for playing. He did what he's supposed to do. He added excitement to the game. And now you're telling him he has to apologize because he didn't conform to an 80-year-old standard that's frankly stupid.
An unwritten rule, for that matter?
Yeah. If it was written that you can't swing at a 3-0 pitch, that count wouldn't exist in baseball.
Right.
It's so pointless.
Like you said, let the kids play. You're taking arguably, right now at least, one of the most exciting players in baseball, and since he's coming to the league, it's probably been one of the top overall players in baseball. And now you're sort of trying to stifle, everything that makes him great. We want to see these players hit opposite field grand slams. If he's talented enough to do it, so many few can do it. Why not embrace the fact that he is that electric instead of shunning it? So I'm definitely with you there.
And the icing on the cake was the video that surfaced from last year of the Rangers intentionally dropping a pop-up foul ball late in the 9th inning, late in the year, so that Mike Minor could get his 200th strikeout.
Right.
They literally, if you watch the video, the guy's literally under it, and the ball gets 6 inches from his glove, and he pulls it back so that it'll hit the ground instead, and then Minor goes on to strike the guy out. I'm like, aren't you all supposed to be respecting the game? How is this any different?
Manipulating stats, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, just another reason why baseball, if it doesn't change, is unfortunately not doing so well.
Yeah, exactly. One thing, though, that is a little bit exciting, I guess, we talked about Tatis coming up last year, really being a spark plug, is we're starting to see more of these younger players getting their, call-ups. Mize got called up. Dylan Carlson got called up. We see Lewis Roberts tearing it up right now. And you came out with an updated version of your top 300 prospects. Why don't you kind of shed a little light on maybe some of the guys that called up? What can we expect from them maybe now as they're starting to make their debuts, and who are the next guys on the way up?
Yeah, so obviously Casey Mize got all the headlines. In fact, all three Tigers did. Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal, and Isaac Paredes. Clearly Mize is the headline grabber there. He's a former first-round pick like 2 years ago. He's done nothing but dominate in the minor leagues. He's pitching. He's starting for the White Sox today against actually another rookie call-up, Dane Dunning, for the White Sox, who was part of, by the way, he's the oft-forgotten piece in the Adam Eaton deal between the Nats and the White Sox, the deal that sent Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez to the White Sox, also netted the White Sox Dane Dunning, who was probably a pretty solid number 3 starter. So the Nats gave the White Sox basically 3 of their 5 starting pitchers. All for Adam Eaton. Casey Mize, Casey Mize is an ace caliber pitcher. There's no doubt about it. His splitter is absolutely filthy. It's what would cautiously be graded as a 70 grade pitch out of a 20/80 scale. That makes it elite for those of you that aren't familiar with that scale. And then his slider and curveball are pretty fantastic as well. And then he also has a cutter, by the way. He morphs his slider into a cutter a little bit. So he actually has a 4-pitch mix. And he's going to be a nightmare for opposing hitters for quite a while. Tariq Skubal is a lefty with some serious velocity. He hit 102 on his fastball this offseason, and the pitch moved like 8 inches. It was gross. Like, I'm like, a baseball's not supposed to. Like, is he throwing a baseball or a wiffle ball? Like, it was not pleasant for the opposing hitter. So Scobal's probably going to be a number 3 starter. He's got the upside of a number 2, but he'll slot in as a number 3 for the Tigers long term because Matt Manning will come up eventually and take that number 2 spot. And Isaac Paredes, I think he's okay. He's going to be a high average third baseman. He doesn't have a whole lot of pop in that bat. I think he's good for about 15 to 20 homers a year as a third baseman, which is so-so, but he's also not going to steal a whole lot of bags. So he's an okay guy. Dane Dunning, he's going to be a high strikeout number 3 guy. He's got 4 above average pitches. He is coming off of Tommy John, so there might be a little bit of a short leash here with him this year in terms of innings. Luis Garcia.
Is Mize like the only must-add fantasy play of the group?
I think Scobal's a must-add right now. I think that have come up recently, those two would probably be the only. I mean, Dylan Carlson, depending on playing time, which I think he should get a boatload of playing time for the Cardinals because, let's face it, their offense is bad and their outfield is not good. Right. So Carlson should be a must-add. Mize and Skubal should be a must-add. Luis Garcia, if you need some second base help, you could probably add him. Ultimately, he pans out as a guy who's going to hit about 280 and probably in the 12 to 15 homers and steals range each year while playing second base. So not terrible, but not like an elite middle infielder. A guy that really intrigues me, though, is Christian Pash for the Braves. He just came up to help out their ailing outfield.
Filling for Acuna, who just went on the IL.
Yeah. And Pash, the first thing that you read about him is he's been voted the minor league best defensive outfielder 2 years in a row. So that's pretty impressive right off the bat because they're talking about everybody in the minor leagues, not just like at his level or in his league. He's phenomenally gifted in the outfield. He's going to win multiple Gold Gloves for defense. His hit tools are still coming around. He's finally figuring out how to use his in-game power. Batting average-wise, he's really quite good. Plate approach, pretty solid. I mean, we'd like to see him walk a little bit more than he does. But overall, and he's got 70 grade speed, though he hasn't really figured out how to turn it into an efficient base stealing effort just yet. But he's got the speed to be quite a havoc on the.
It's always interesting to me to see the fast guys who still manage to get thrown out like in a half of their attempts, and it's just like they have no feel for like getting leads or the right pitches to run on or situations, and they they just don't have efficient base stealing numbers. To me is always kind of interesting because so you said you read 70 grade run tool and you're like, oh, this guy must have 50 stolen base upside, and then he just like can't figure it out.
Yeah, no, he's been caught about half the times he's tried to steal. He's a little bit raw in that respect, and I think he's still one of those guys that goes, well, I've got the speed, so I can just make anything happen, when it turns out not really, because elite catchers are, if you don't get a big enough lead, they're going to throw you out.
You got a pitcher throwing 100 one way and a catcher probably throwing 100 the other way. So
right, it's like those wide receivers that come in who are super fast and can't run routes, and you're like, well, why isn't this guy getting anything? Oh, he only runs in one direction. But the speed does help with the defense. Obviously, it makes his range really, really huge. So he's a super intriguing guy. But yeah, we can kind of just forget about Lewin Diaz, who came up for the Marlins recently. I'm just not that big on him. I comped him to basically a Chris with a K Davis, where his batting average is going to be pretty bad, but he's got like 30-plus home run upside. But he doesn't give you speed, and his batting average is going to, if he doesn't hit home runs, then he's not worth anything because his batting average is going to take everything for you. So that's a bit of a preview of the prospect report that came out this week. And I updated my top 300.
Yeah, like on your top 300 here, let me ask you a couple of guys. Because, you have their estimated time of arrival on a few of these. You have Luis Robert as number 2. We've obviously seen him come up and just light it up for the White Sox. You have Wander Franco ahead of him and Jared Kelenic behind him. Two guys that haven't made their debuts yet. When do you think we're gonna see them make their debuts for the Rays with Franco and Kelenic for Seattle?
So I think Franco will be up next year for the Rays. Okay. I really do. I don't think he really has much to prove down in the minors, which is saying something because the guy's 19 years old.
Right.
By the way, one other note by Luis Garcia. I think I heard the stat correctly that he became the first player born in the 2000s to hit a home run in a major league game, I believe, because he turned 20 in May. So
makes you feel old a little bit.
Yeah, right. Like, what have I been doing with my life here?
You've been writing about him,
Yeah, exactly. Wander Franco is an uber prospect. The guy has every tool possible. It's just his stats are insane, and then you put together that he's a 19-year-old, and they get even more nuts. And Jared Kelenic, that guy's got probably the prettiest swing I've seen in the minor leagues to this point. Like, his swing is just phenomenal. He's going to hit for average. He's going to hit for pop. He's got some speed as well. He'll play a very good brand of defense in outfield, and I know this is paining the Mets fans, especially Justin Freeland, to hear this, but yeah.
This is the Edwin Diaz trade, right?
Yes, they gave up Jared Kelenic as part of the return for Edwin Diaz and Robinson Cano. They also gave up Justin Dunn, I believe, as well in that deal. But Kelenic is, he's going to be an all-world outfielder here pretty soon. I think he may have a shot coming up this year. It kind of depends on if the Mariners can turn things around or not, but I don't see that happening.
Right. Makes sense. Well, Matt, again, we can go ahead and everybody can check out your top 300 prospect rankings if you have the MLB Pro Package, I assume, correct?
Yes, it's part of the. It's actually in the draft guide. So, but if you have any package, we basically gave that to you with any package you just got.
True.
So you can go ahead and check that out. I added the players that were drafted in June into my top 300. So there is. Looking at it right now, there's 2 guys in the top 11 who were drafted in June's draft.
I was going to say, what's the highest player ranked that was just recently drafted?
Spencer Torkelson, drafted first overall in June, is ranked 9th overall in the rankings. The guy is a beast with the bat. It was quite clear he should have been the number 1 overall pick. Then Austin Martin, who was drafted, I believe, 5th or 6th overall to Toronto, ranks 11th overall in my top 300. So the only person in between him is Jesus Luzardo, who, yes, is still a prospect. He has not pitched enough innings in the majors to lose that designation.
Well, with the Red Sox looking like they're going to be the worst team in baseball this year, I expect to see a Red Sox draft pick coming up on this list probably next year. So
probably, yeah. I believe Tristan Casas is the number 1 ranked Red Sox. If I'm not mistaken, he's about 79th in the list.
Mm-hmm.
Jake
Room's looking good. I've been reading up on his inter squad game throwing, whatever the taxi squad. He's part of the taxi squad right now. Apparently,
it's about time that Jay Groom has figured out how to pitch and stay healthy.
Yeah, well, health. It's all about health with him, really. Yeah. He's just been hurt for 2 of the 3 years he's been in pro baseball. So, again, need him healthy. But I read, I think it was yesterday he pitched. He faced 12 batters, got 10 of them out, had like 4 strikeouts, and was throwing 95. That's what I like to hear.
That's pretty good. The only downside is we just don't know who he was facing exactly. I mean, there are other guys on the 60-man roster, so you'd assume that they'd be pretty good. But
I imagine they're double and AAA players, so
probably. But the Nats just called up a guy who'd never played in AA in Luis Garcia, so you never know who's down in that 60-man spot. So
I can be hopeful, man. Let me be hopeful because the Red Sox are so damn bad this year that something good has to be coming.
And now your Patriots said they might use a quarterback by committee.
I saw that. Yeah, Stidham and Newton. They're just gonna play snap by snap. There's no way Bill Belichick does that. That's just
I don't think so either. But it
motivational speak.
It was reported by Pro Football Focus.
Stidham threw 3 interceptions during passing yesterday or something like that, which. I understand that we have the best secondary in football, so that's potentially going to happen. But
and no wide receivers to throw to.
Yeah, right. So, but I guess he threw 2 straight interceptions and threw 3 picks on 12 attempts or something like that. So,
well, that's not a good ratio.
Not what you're looking for out of Jarrett Stidham there. Probably why Cam Newton is there. But all right, man, we'll wrap this up. We'll let you start, I guess, preparing for NASCAR because you got all of these things.
The track breakdown The track breakdown has been started. It will be out probably tomorrow when DraftKings decides to grace us with their salaries, even though the starting lineup has already been known for 4 hours already today. You can see I'm kind of twitching because I should have had them out by now. So we got quite a lot of content out. You can also catch me. I think I'm doing the pitching coach tomorrow for MLB DFS, I believe.
Yeah, I make the schedule, but I don't really know who does what. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the pitching coach. It's either the hitting or the pitching coach, but I'll be on one of them.
And we're recording Family Times podcast tonight, so that'll be out.
Yes.
Either Thursday or Friday, I assume.
And the MLB podcast with me and Greg Jewett just dropped earlier today. So there's a ton of stuff out there. I'm pretty much everywhere apparently this week.
Sure.
There's plenty of stuff to see on FA.
Sounds good. All right, guys, we will catch you next time.